Welcome back to the 1 Million Cups Fargo podcast. 1 Million Cups is a free nationwide weekly program created by the Kauffman Foundation in 2012 and is designed to educate, engage, and connect entrepreneurs. 1 Million Cups is organized in 35 states across the country, and the Fargo, North Dakota chapter is one of the most active and largest in the nation. This week we heard from Ashton Hauff, founder of Evertide, and Troy Derheim, founder of Aquatics Empowered. We're going to begin today hearing from Troy with Aquatics Empowered, a nonprofit with a mission to help connect rural communities with access to aquatic therapy. Aquatics Empowered believes that water has healing capabilities, whether it be mentally or physically, and they want to ensure that all communities, as well as charities, have access to safe and compliant facilities for aquatic therapy. Let's listen in.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. And I'm Troy Derheim with Aquatics Empowered. I appreciate you allowing me to come share my passion for aquatics with you. I've been in the industry for 30 years. I not only run and operate a nonprofit, but I also run and operate a for-profit company that builds any kind of aquatic facilities, whether it's hotels or community pools or hospital therapy tanks or just a pool in your backyard. But what happened to me that inspired me to start the nonprofit is over the period of the years of working with all these clients and these people, I had the opportunity to share and visit with a lot of people about how water has affected their life or their family. And there's story after story. I mean, I don't even have enough time in a day to go through all the stories that have touched me. One of these stories, just to give you an idea, there's a little boy whose name is Leo. And Leo is, he has a few different challenges. He's a Down syndrome child. And his father shared with me when he was younger, I think he was probably between 5 or 6 years old, he had to have a surgery and they had to reset his hip. So they basically had to break some things and set him back together and put him in a cast. And he was in that cast for about 6 months. When they took that cast off, he couldn't walk. And he didn't want to try to, and his father couldn't communicate with him because the child didn't have the ability to communicate, in a fashion that was very simple and easy to walk him through why he should or shouldn't be able to try to walk. So his father was distraught, didn't know what to do. The child was upset and unhappy most days. And so one of his friends said, "Hey, why don't you take him and put him in a pool someplace?" And his dad said, "Well, I really don't have that many resources to do that." He actually went down to a local hotel and talked them into letting him come in with the sun in the mornings and use the pool. And the really neat part about it is after about 3 to 4 weeks of doing that, his child was in the pool and just relaxing. It was a very calm environment. It was fun. And so his boy started moving his legs, and before you know it, he got back the motion, and then he started walking without even realizing he was going through some sort of physical therapy. So I've had story after story that has touched my life by people that how aquatics has made a difference. And it's funny now, I'll go to a sporting event or do something else, and I'll be having a conversation with somebody. I'll kind of tell them what I do, and they'll say, "Oh my God, my grandpa or my mom or my brother or my sister or somebody else has been touched by that same similar situation." And the great thing about aquatics is that it doesn't matter what your age is, where you come from, where you're at in life. There's some way where it can benefit you. I mean, it's one of the only resources that gives you the ability to help with mental health, help with relaxation. It's fun. It can be physical therapy. It can be all those different things. And it's one resource that is available for everybody, should be available for everybody, most anywhere. But there's communities all across the country that just don't have the resources to put an aquatic facility in, or there's families that can't afford to buy a summer membership or a year-long membership to a gym to have their kids go do that. So it's my passion and my goal to be able to help communities, help individuals if they don't have the resources, to try to find a way to bring their family that resource. We're working with a family in Moorhead right now that the child has had to find different areas where they could go, like a calm room or something, to be able to allow that child to be able to feel comfortable and just being in an environment around other people. And the mom said that the one thing the child really enjoys is just going in a pool and swimming. It's amazing what just sitting in water will do for anybody at any level. It relaxes you, it makes you feel good, it makes you feel comfortable. And so I'm working with her mom now to find a way to get them a swim spa where we're going to convert their garage into almost a physical therapy at home area. And now that child will have a comfortable area where they can go on a daily basis, and the family can share times together. That just, it makes a big difference. So it's the one environment and one resource that will create lifelong memories for families. It brings people together. It creates, changes in lives daily. It's amazing. I work with disabled vets that are going through rehabilitation, and they find when you're in water and you're going through the same motions that you would be doing on ground, it seems to speed up the process and produce better results. One of the issues that I'm up against that I'm going to try to help fix is that across the entire United States, I'm a disabled vet myself, and I've been talking with other disabled vets. There's only 2 facilities nationwide that actually have an aquatic center that is a VA associated aquatic center to help with rehabilitation. So everybody across the United States has to either go to Minneapolis or down to Florida and wait to get on a list to be able to go through some kind of therapy there. I think that we should be able to do that anywhere in the United States. And I think every community should have a resource, whether it's a small little hot tub in a city town hall or something else. So hopefully you kind of understand why I'm passionate about the difference I think that this will make in lives for people, and how it can touch everybody. It doesn't matter what your challenge is in life, even if it's just you need to get back someplace where you can sit and have a little bit of peace of mind and relaxation and share a special moment with a family member or a friend. So if there's anything anyone has any questions on, please contact me at aquaticsempowered.org. You can reach me or my staff there. And I'd appreciate your support, spreading the word. If you know a friend or family member that needs help, let me know. I'd be glad to help or reach out or find them a resource.
Next up, we hear from Ashton Hauff, founder of Evertide, a daily planner curated to help organize the lives and work of those seeking to find balance. Launched at the beginning of 2020, Ashton has created a planner that is useful in the year that feels impossible to plan anything. Let's listen in to hear more from Ashton.
So today I'm going to share about my most recent endeavor called Evertide. And like she said, Evertide is a daily planner to help go-getters similar to you make every moment count. So first off, I'm not going to share a ton about myself, but I may look familiar, and there's a couple reasons why. I was a part of the amazing team at CoSchedule for 4.5 years. Absolutely love what they do. And then last time I was on stage, I was presenting for Makewell, which is a community for makers. And so I also kind of side hustle that as well. And then in the past couple years, I started The Good Kids, where we get to do brand design to help entrepreneurs grow their business. And so that's where you may have seen me, but today I'm excited to share about Evertide, which is my most recent thing. And I love this quote from Brian. I'm going to start off here because the story of Evertide really starts with a problem that I experienced in my own life. And I think ever since studying design thinking, I have a hard time ignoring problems. And I'm sure you guys can relate. But I love this quote. He says, if we try to think of a good idea, we wouldn't have been able to think of one. You just have to find the solution for a problem in your own life. So that is definitely what has happened with Evertide. So the problem that I was encountering in my own entrepreneurial journey is that with my planner, I was trying to juggle 3 things and it just wasn't working. I was using CoSchedule still to manage my client projects. I was using Google Calendar to manage my event and my schedule, but I was missing some of that personal growth stuff. I was trying to avoid burnout because it's easy to get there as an entrepreneur, but I wanted to have some healthier habits and just some mindful practices in my day-to-day life. And so I was really looking for a planner that would work. But I was really struggling because in the market, you have weekly layout planners that are really broad, and I really needed something a little bit more specific. You can find weekly or daily planners, but you can't find something that has a little bit of both. And I think they both have their place. A lot of daily planners have way too many options, and then you end up just wasting the space, and you never want to feel like you're wasting a product that you purchased. I looked at entrepreneurial planners specifically, but they had way too many prompts. I think as an entrepreneur, we really lack time as a commodity. And so too many prompts is not a good thing. And then as a person who's on the go, who's moving, I needed a planner that wasn't so large and heavy. The planner that I was previously using was really, really large, and so it just wasn't a good fit. And then as a designer, I really do appreciate something that looks good and that I don't get sick of after a couple of weeks. And so I wanted something that was aesthetically pleasing. And then lastly, a lot of the really good effective planners were $50 to $150 annually. And so that's a little bit of a higher price point. And so when I was listing off all of these pros and cons to my husband, he's like, why don't you just make your own? And that was literally probably the most obvious aha moment I think I've experienced across any of my businesses. It was like, of course, I'm a designer, I can do this. So I instantly grabbed my computer and made the first version that night. So this is what it looked like. And me being super nerdy, designy, excited person, I posted on Instagram and I was super excited to share about it. But what I didn't expect was the response. I had countless people say, I want to buy this. Where can I get one? And I really was not expecting that. And so I quickly kind of took notice and decided that I was going to create kind of a beta group to see if this planner not only worked for me, but for other people. So here's kind of what the timeline looked like. Literally December 28th is when I shared that post about this new planner I was using. Really quickly in the next few days, I formed a beta group of like 30 individuals to really test it out in the month of January to see if it worked for their lifestyle. And as I was seeing positive results, that's when I had to jump in and see how can I make this product come to life with the materials, finding a print shop, the whole gamut. So that really happened the month of February. And then in March, April is when the planners finally arrived and I got to deliver them to the customers for the very first time. And so I want to introduce you to Evertide. All right, major shout out to Threefold for helping for that video, but it just really shows kind of the full gamut of how Evertide can be a part of every phase of your life, which I love. So since then, we had a really fast start at the beginning of the year. We sold our first 100 plus planner count in the summer edition of the planner, which was really exciting because that was our goal for the year. In September, I was finally able to kind of test out some new product ideas that I had from the beginning, which was fun. And then just this past month, we launched our 2021 product line, which is kind of where we're at today. So this is kind of the outlook for the next year or two. This year we released our dated planner. It was a hardcover with just one color option. It's priced at $39 simply because of the lower quantity that we're ordering and just getting started. Our goal was to reach that 100 planner pre-order for 1 quarter campaign because it is a 3-month planner. So we sell it quarterly with pre-orders, and then we sell the planners in between whatever's left over. And then I have several amazing family and friends to help me with fulfillment as I'm learning this process and learning what it's like to have a product business. So in 2021, like I kind of shared, I was able to release an undated version, which is really exciting. We still have just the 1 color option until we can kind of hit that quantity that we need to. But it is priced between $29 to $39 because we're projecting growth, and we also added subscriptions. So now you can purchase the entire set of planners right in the beginning, and then you don't have to come back every quarter, which is really great. So we're able to offer a lower price point. We have a goal of hitting 140 pre-orders every quarter. The undated version will also be sold on Amazon, so I'm exploring some other ways to sell it. And then I really want to focus on how I can make fulfillment more efficient. That's a really huge process. And now that we have more than one product, will continue to be something that I need to focus on. And then in the future, I'm looking at maybe offering a larger size so we can have an annual version of the planner. Right now it's daily, so it has 2 pages and it's really thick. So we can't do anything beyond 3 months. But if we make it bigger, then hopefully we can add that option. I'd love to add more cover colors because everyone loves to personalize their planner. And I'd eventually like to get it down to a $25 price point just so it's a little bit more affordable. And that will happen over time as we can increase quantity. So obviously the goal is to sell more planners to hit 200 plus. And then I'd love to add some help so it's not just me, and then also get it on Amazon Prime. So I'd love to hear your feedback, your advice. One thing that I'm always trying to do is to learn. It's been a year of learning. So if you know anyone who's a mentor in the e-commerce space, that would be amazing. I'm also trying to explore influencer marketing, what to do, what not to do, and just open to all your feedback in general. So I made this deck in February when I initially presented in Bismarck, and I had a laugh when I came to this slide. It says success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm. And I laughed because obviously 2020 happened and it's been crazy. So I just wanted to give a final word of encouragement that if we can make it to the end of 2020, the last day of 1 million cups with some enthusiasm, I think we've won. So just my encouragement to you today. And lastly, if you want to try out Evertide, we do have a free printable that you can get on our website. So you can practice the daily planner and see if it's a good fit for you. And then this week, we're actually celebrating Small Business Week. And so we have 20% off all orders if you want to take that step and get it for yourself.
After the presentations, we opened up our online platform to a Q&A session with the audience to dive deeper into the ins and outs of social entrepreneurship and their ventures. This week, we were joined by our host, Emma McIntyre, who is also the lead coordinator of 1 Million Cups Fargo.
So when we were curating today's 1 Million Cups, the one thing that we have is like every week when we have two speakers, we try to like figure out, okay, what between them is the same, and then use that in marketing and promotion and the questions that we ask. And with the two of you, I was like, they are so different in the work that they're doing. But the one thing I kept coming back to was the fact that you are serial entrepreneurs, and the fact that if you look at either of your LinkedIns, there is a highly established resume of all of the wonderful work you've done. So my first question for 1 Million Cups today is, what is the work that you're doing now? In what way is it different than all of your past experiences?
Wow, what a question. I mean, the work that I do now, it's problem solving. And so I guess that's been the consistent thing from the beginning. I get to do that with the good kids where I'm problem solving for similar other small businesses, which is really great. And then with Evertide, of course, problem solving for my client. But I guess maybe the difference is just the attitude and the mindset behind it. The fact that like, if I do have a problem, I can solve it and I have the ability to do it. And I'm not naturally a risk taker. And so just having that confidence and kind of learning from all of those past experiences gives me kind of the motivation to keep going.
Yeah. Troy?
Hey, by the way, I think we're almost identical in our what we do here between the two of us. We're both passionate about making life easier for other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just two different ways of going to two different paths. So,
yeah.
You know, with me, I've owned and operated my business for 30 years. It's a long time. And the difference I really see is the mindset that I changed a few years ago. And I've never been a person that is all about what's in it for me. I always enjoy what's the end result of what I see produced. I mean, my career started in construction. I like it because when it's done, you see what you produce and it serves someone's needs long term. But what's changed the most is I've really focused on what I can do for other people. And that has really fed back some positive. I mean, it's helped me grow my business. And I think people realize that because I think they see the sincerity when we sit down and we talk about a project or we talk about what we can do together. It's what at the end result can make that person's life better, what can change it to create a better tomorrow, what can create a memory long-term for it. And so that's the difference for me, is that mindset of going from, I got to get this done because I got to pay the bills, I got to do this. It's more of every day waking up going, how am I going to change somebody's life today? How am I going to make something different that 10 years from now, they're going to look back and go, yeah, I'm sure glad I met that guy. I'm sure glad I did something, ran into them, because this little part of this little memory with my family is so much, it's so much to hold on to now. So
awesome. We do have a question that came in through the comments. Hannah Selter asks, I'm assuming Ashton, what is the process like for finding the printer that you now use?
Great question. As a designer, I kind of have a few connections in the area. So I actually did start local, looking for a print shop, because the nice thing about local is usually you can tangibly see test prints. You don't have to pay for the shipping of some printer in California to ship it to you, which is also money. And so I started locally, which is good because then I'm supporting another small business in the area. And I found a print shop in Bismarck that's actually also located in Fargo. And so it's been a really fun fit, and they've been able to kind of learn kind of what I'm doing along the way so that they can be a part of the process. And so that is one tip if you are in that same situation, is try to bring in your printing contact into the process so they kind of understand the goal and what you're after, because they're the one who know the material the best, and then they can recommend things based on your goal.
That has to be a little stressful. I feel like in the beginning, it seems like this planner is in a way kind of like your baby. So handing off something that is so integral to just the functionality of it must have been stressful and probably very relieving when you found whatever worked for you.
Yeah. And it even just to see what's out there, because, they have a lot of options that other, regional national print shops have. And so to hope that like your vision can actually come to life is just quite an experience. But thankfully we found something that kind of meets what I want. And in the future, I'm excited to kind of expand that.
That's awesome. Troy, so I do have a question. I think one of the things that's major in the nonprofit journey is funding. And I can't imagine the work that you do has a low price point. You have experience in the aquatics industry. Can you talk about funding for your nonprofit, how you go about that, maybe where you guys source the pools that you use, how you keep minimal costs with maximum impact?
Well, funding is always a challenge, but since I have a long history in the for-profit world, when I started the nonprofit, I looked at a nonprofit as an entity that doesn't mean you can't have revenue stream. You have to have some form of funds. And so we had to set up lines of revenue on how we're going to help people, but yet how we're going to generate revenue. And we're not necessarily as a nonprofit selling like, like I'm not selling a pool, installing it. I'm going to a community and saying, look, let me help you evaluate what you have now or what you're trying to achieve. I'll show you that process. And what I'd like to do is you set me up, I will set you up with a membership. You pay a minimal fee to help us, almost like a retainer, to keep us on board. We make sure we keep your costs down. We find the way to reduce. I mean, we've taken an example. I had one small community come to me and they've been working on the project for 2 years. The lowest bid they got was $1.5 million to redo an outdoor pool. We found a process and a way to mix a residential pool with a commercial pool, and the total project cost was $468,000. So, I mean, we saved them literally $1 million, and they were ecstatic, and they thought, well, how is this even possible? Well, you just got to you have to engineer the product to meet the standards to keep it safe for people, but yet you don't need this size. You don't need all these bells and whistles. You don't need these things. Let's just get to the basics of what you want to do. Swimming lessons, safety, therapy for children, elderly, whoever. We need to get those things going. Well, we can achieve that by just changing the model a little bit. So that's how we're generating revenue is one, saving people a considerable amount of money. If you save them $1 million in a project, they're willing to spend $5,000 or $4,000 to help pay for our keep us going. So.
I'm going to toss it back to Ashton really quick. So I follow you on Instagram. And girl, big fan. So I watched the process of the Evertide planners come out and you release them. I'm curious. So my initial thought was when you released them in like series of 4, so quarterly planners, was that something because you were just starting off, so it gave you space to innovate? Was it something with COVID? I mean, planners. Or I personally am a big planner fan, bought a planner for school at the beginning of the year and then threw it away by like April. I was like, this serves me no value. So I'm curious in your brainstorming process of the quarterly planner, the intention behind that.
Yeah, it's actually more of a physical barrier than anything, because every page or every day has 2 pages. And so I actually have one right here. So you can see how thick, I guess, or the size of it.
Yeah.
But this is three months. And so when thinking about, what do people want to have at their desk or in their bag as they're kind of moving on through life, it just didn't make sense to have anything thicker. So that's why in the future, it would be really cool if I can make it larger in size, maybe more of like a letter size. I'd be able to get more of that full annual calendar in there. But for right now, I just really wanted to be aware of the thickness and the size so that it's not super heavy and something that people need to carry. And it is kind of fun actually, because if it's not a good fit, it's only 3 months. It's not like you bought this planner for the whole year and now you're tossing it. And it's also fun to get a new planner every 3 months. You can change it, you can make it your own. So it's kind of a nice little bit of happy mail every quarter.
Exactly. We'll have to buy Troy a planner, and so that way he can balance all of his aquatics projects. Oh, and the outside is blue, so it's perfect. It puts you in.
It is blue, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to have to buy some for sure. I love her idea. I mean, I'm not a person that sits and writes a lot down, because I'm going 100 miles a minute and I got to slow down. But my wife loves the planner, and just the comfort of it's almost like an emotional process for her just to sit down and relate. It's calming. She writes her stuff down. She can review it. She writes everything down. So I think it's a great idea. I'm going to have to log on and buy some for her.
Yeah. And they're 20% off right now. So if you're looking for a Christmas gift for anybody in your life, Troy and I highly recommend Evertide planners.
Absolutely.
We do have another question from the audience. So the Locust Center, which I believe is Sarah, she said, "Good morning, everybody. I love the usage of the coffee cup." She said, "Excellent presentation. Troy, what would the process look like to have Aquatics Empowered establish therapy within one's community?"
So that is one of the main reasons why I started the organization, because so many people just don't realize what they can do for a resource and don't think it's possible, because everybody envisions this huge, expensive, big project that they have to bring the community together. I've talked to communities that are 300 people and they say it's not realistic. We'd love to have our kids have some area to swim, but it's just, we can't afford it. And I said, well, there are portable devices now where if you have a town hall, where do you guys have your town hall meetings? They're like, well, the little steel building down the road there, it's 20 by 30 feet. And, we have one round table in there and that's all we got. And I said, well, we can take and put a small hot tub in there or a swim spa that's 8 feet wide by 10 feet long. The community can share the cost, which will cost them about maybe $80 per person in the community, and they can use it year round. And we can set up a plan where it's a shared expense and we can manage it where scheduling goes, and everybody has a lock and key to come in and out of there. And it's a resource that doesn't have to cost a lot of money to get the benefit out of it. So the answer is that no matter what size the community is, we look and evaluate what their needs are, and we can find a product very inexpensive for everyone to go through or to use and to partake in.
Awesome. Thanks. We do have one more question for Ashton from the audience before we hit our final question for 1MC today. And it's from Tanner. He says, "How did you come up with the name Evertide?"
Yeah, so anytime you're branding anything, it's hard, but when you brand yourself or your own company, it's harder. I don't know if you've experienced that, Troy, but when I was thinking about the planner, I was obviously thinking about daily cycles, daily rhythms. And I don't know if it was the fact that I just got home from Mexico or or what was on my mind, but I was immediately drawn to the ocean and the tides that, come in every single day, no matter what happens, and every day is this new chance. And so when I kind of combined this forever word bank of words and that tide that really is a powerful metaphor for a new day, I came up with Evertide, and thankfully I did my looking on Instagram and websites and all of that to see if it was available, and it was. So now it's Evertide.
Well, we do ask one final question every week at 1 Million Cups, and that is one thing. You would think by the end of 2020 I could get this. What is one thing that each of us can do to help you? Troy, if you want to kick us off.
Sure. I would say, spread the word. Just let people know there's a resource. And, any group, whether it's like even Autism Society can take advantage of it. We have children learning how to speak by being in water and blowing ripples across the water. I've had therapists tell me that. So it's like, just let people know there's a resource and that water can change their lives, and send them to my website, aquaticsempowered.org.
Awesome. Ashton?
For me, if you could just try out Evertide, that would absolutely make my day. So if you go to our website, you can download the daily planner for free and just see if it works for you. I think that's the best way to see if any product is a good fit, and I would love to hear your feedback.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us here today. I think this was, in my opinion, a fantastic way to close out the 2020 year. So we'll see you in 2021.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And that's all we got for this week's 1 Million Cups Fargo podcast. Thank you so much for listening in. 1 Million Cups Fargo is powered by Emerging Prairie, an organization dedicated to connecting and celebrating the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We'd also like to say a thank you to the following sponsors for their support: Midco, the Fargo Moorhead CVB, the FM Area Foundation, City of Fargo, Pro Resources, and the Kilborn Group. Catch you again next time on the 1 Million Cups Fargo podcast. See you then.